Here we go. Well, welcome to our statewide roundtable. I know you guys have plenty of stuff going on, and we appreciate you taking out the time today to meet and help each other. And it's always beneficial. Uh, as always, on this first Thursday of the month, I took a bath and I'm ready to go. Let's see what we have today. Um, we are recording, and these Zoom-based sessions hosted by CTAT are posted on public media platforms such as YouTube. If you do not wish to have your picture displayed to public view, make sure you participate with your video off. Otherwise, your participation serves as consent to having your picture being posted. Thank you guys so much. June 1st, we do have some breaking news. And of course, this is we're coming right to the end of season 3 for the roundtables. And as always, Neil deGrasse Tyson informs you that knowledge is coming, sometimes not. Today, June 1st, is officially Dinosaur Day. And it's hard to think of a good dinosaur without some good Far Side memes. And of course, we all know the real reasons that the dinosaurs became extinct. And I found this one a little disturbing when I was doing some research. It talks about worried about the dinosaur kids aren't getting their vitamins, so they feed them Flintstone chewables. There's something a little disturbing about that. I'm not sure. Very disturbing picture. And here it is. They're having a big dinosaurs conference, just like we have CTAT. The dinosaurs had conference, and the guy's telling them that the picture's pretty bleak. The world's climate's changing, and the mammals are taking over everything, and we have the brain size of a walnut. Not a good situation for the dinosaurs. And here they are blowing a bubble. We got a poor caveman in there. June 1st, we really have some exciting birthdays. Um, June 1st is the birthday of Andy Griffith. It is the birthday of the great Cleavon Little from Blazing Saddles. If you've never seen that, he was fantastic. Marilyn Monroe's birthday was today. And of course, one of the greatest actors of all time, Morgan Freeman. And today is the birthday of Pat Boone. And I'm going to stick my favorite Pat Boone video in there for you guys to enjoy at your own free will. Just if you don't like this Pat Boone video, then you just can't be pleased. And also, we found out that today, and I don't have her picture up there, the great Tracy Hendricks at Pflugerville. Today is her birthday too. So all these folks are in good company. As always, when you have birthdays, you also have some losses. And today we lost Helen Keller on June 1st and Hank Ketchum. And of course, Hank Ketchum was the author of the Dennis the Menace comics. And Dennis is always getting in trouble. You can see there he's painting on his mom's wall, says, now you don't need to buy a picture. He's just trying to help out poor Dennis. And here's Dennis here doing some critical thinking, high on Bloom's taxonomy. He says, I smacked it and I'm going to leave it there as a warning to other mosquitoes. That is good thinking, Dennis. I bet that works. And here we have Dennis and Tommy sitting there and says, Mr. Wilson, when you're done, let us know because me and Joey just want to watch you get up. I bet that is going to be pretty entertaining, Dennis. Well done. And just as Dennis and Mr. Wilson work to make his garden the best in town, that's what these CTAT roundtable discussions are all about, working together to make our programs the best they can be for the students in Texas and to help each other out in providing quality content and programming. So thank you all for being here. Again, this is my favorite time of the month. This is when we all get together for the roundtables. Thank you guys so much. As always, we'll talk a little bit about our programming. We do have these monthly roundtables. The Next Gen Administrator Cohort 3 just ended in May with our Blue Ribbon panel. We appreciate all those guys, appreciate the ones sitting on the panel. And for all you Next Geners, we sent you out the date and time, and we'll send out a couple of reminders for the Next Gen reception that we'll have at conference. And the next round of Next Gen Administrators Cohort will begin in September, the third Thursday in September. So thank you guys. Also, we do professional conferences and district program evaluations. If you need a program evaluation, you can just send me an email to mark@ctat.org. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the CTAT YouTube channel, make sure you get on there and click that bell, and it'll notify you every time we post a YouTube video. If you're not using the Connect CTAT forum, make sure that you make it a point to get on there, because there's so much good stuff. You can learn everything from what curriculum you use in career investigations to what you use to keep flies out of the ag barn. Fantastic forum, and we appreciate you guys helping each other and posting on the forum. If you're not a subscriber to the CTE newsletter from TEA, make sure that you get on there and you go to that tile on the Career Tech main page at TEA, and you can sign up for the newsletter. They're a little bit slower than they have been in the past, but I think they're going through multiple layers of bureaucracy. It seems like every time your program grows, you get more bureaucracy. So TEA's no different than the rest of our schools, but make sure you get on there, because they send out important info. Don't forget that our CTAT conference is coming up July 10th through the 13th in Dallas. And if you haven't registered, it is not too late. We have some targeted presentations this year that we think are going to be outstanding. The business teachers have really done a great job of recruiting presentations. Dinah Weber there at Saginaw, thank you, Rick. And then Tech Apps, Pam Cook with the TSA has been recruiting. For the law teachers, one of the best sessions I think that we've had in a long time. We're going to have people there from the Dallas Bar Association doing stuff for help the teachers out with mock court. So if you have teachers that are looking for a place to go this summer, it's not too late to get them registered. And there is the latest graphic that Angie has created for the conference. It looks wonderful. And I think that's the one that actually came out in the CTAT chat. So you can go to your CTAT chat, just click that registration button, or you can register at ctat.org. Again, the next gen cohort number 4 is coming out in the fall of 2023, and we will be sending out information on that, and we'll have registration open and ready to go at conference. So if you know any folks that are 1 to 5 years and they want to be a part of a cohort of similar professionals, let them know, and they can get registered for that in the fall of 2023. Updates, Sherry or PT, if either one of you are on here and you have any updates from the TEA leadership. I know you had a big update last time. If either one of you are on here and you want to update, I hate to put you on the spot. Either one of you guys on there? PT or Sherry, if one of you guys are on there and you want to give an update later, just buzz in.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think Sherry's out. She's in district here. She's on an interview panel. And so I'm sorry, she's not on the call today.
Fantastic. Thanks.
And I can tell you that we did not meet in May, so there hasn't been anything new.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. That's fantastic. No May meeting. No news is good news, right? Okay. So let's move on. Of course, we have some stuff up here that we have had up for a couple of months, but just remember that when you start planning your programs during the summer and you're planning for the years to come, remember that in 2024, you have to have one course aligned with the program of study. In 25, they have to be the graduates of 25 will have to be concentrators. The graduates of 26 and 27 will all have to be completers and have an IBC that's aligned with the program of study in which they are a concentrator or a completer. We put this on here every time, just if you have a question. The folks at TEA are usually real receptive and they do a great job of getting back to us. So if you have a question specifically in your region. Of course, your first line defense is your your fantastic service center representative. And then you can reach out to these folks too, because they're also tied to regions. Programs of study refresh, of course, will be going on through the spring and taking information. And of course, I know that if you have, whether you're on the refresh committee or not, then you can certainly email TEA with any thoughts that you have. Just make it specific to those career cluster folks. Also, we talked about this last month, is a State Board of Education, the SBOE. They have 2 sets of TSAT. One is for a completely new course for OSHA. And then also there is examples in there to where they put those occupational safety TEKs in every beginning course. So if you want to learn more about that, you can do that from the SBOE website. And then the listening tours. I went to the listening tour in Dallas. I know that they've had them all over the state, and I think most of them are over now. If you haven't had one yet, you will. And TEA is collecting some great information in regards to the programs of study. I know that they're looking at adding some programs of study, and they're looking at expanding some programs of study. I think the thought is they will not delete any courses from a specific program of study, but they may add some courses. So hopefully we'll have some updated programs of study in the fall of 2023. Also, Lacey Freeman reached out to me last week and said that there's been a lot of confusion about the NOCTI certifications. And we put this information in the CTAT chat that we sent out. Just know that some of the NOCTI certifications have just an exam, and some are an exam with also a skills portion or a performance portion. And you can find out all of that information if you'll go to the NOCTI.org programs for Texas, and they have that on their website. And of course, there's the link if you need it, and that link is also in this month's CTAT chat. I think Tracy just posted in the chat the link for the accountability manual. So if you can, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
On the NOCTI, their blueprints also tell you each one, if it's going to be just a multiple choice and a performance base. Because we did the general management for our career prep kids, and it was just multiple choice.
Thank you, Misty. And I guess you're referring to that blueprint that's on the NOCTI Texas website, correct?
Correct.
And also Tony Tennyson, who is a previous Next Gen graduate, she is doing a workshop. She is with Montgomery ISD. She is doing a workshop at conference. They were one of the first ones to really get all through the process. And of course, like anything you're doing, it's kind of cumbersome at first, but then you figure it out. And so they're doing a workshop about how they navigated the NOCTI process. Thank you. And if you guys want to see that, that'll be at conference. Okay, Mackey also, thank you, Mr. Mackey. It's good to hear from you. Only job ready should be included the written online skills test for exam.
The pathways and foundations are generally going to be written or online test.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And that's all spelled out on that website as well, Ted?
That's with the blueprints, as was, I think, Misty mentioned earlier.
You are a good man. Okay, let's move on. So the applicant designation certification form is now open for the Perkins 5 grant. And then once you get your ADC form filled out, then the actual Perkins grant will open up on June 15th. So there's nothing like having a good summer project to get to right in the middle of June. You know, David, I remember we used to have those things finished in March and sent in and we'd have a NOGA back by that time, but they've moved all this stuff backwards. So, but anyway, you should be able to fill out your Perkins information. For most of us, it is not a CLNA year. You ought to have a fairly quick time of it this summer with your Perkins grant. We did talk about the 4-day school week and its impact on CTE. And of course, we talked about 8,100 minutes. And in the last roundtable, we discussed that the 8,100 minutes discussion has ended, and it's just going to be 45 minutes a day. And of course, sometime this June, we expect to have a preliminary student attendance counting handbook to look at, but it will not include an 8,100 minute requirement. A quick legislative update. The last two times actually, we've covered House Bill 100 ad nauseum. No teacher raises, no vouchers, and the lawmakers failed to reach a compromise on the school funding bill. The end of House Bill 100 was bittersweet, but as far as the regular session goes, House Bill 100 is dead, and CTE funding is just as it was before the legislative. Now, House Bill 100 had 9 great things in it, and so we hated to lose it completely. But anyway, as far as CTE funding goes, it looks like the House Bill 100 is not, it is dead in the water for now. So I am going to stop sharing and get us back into gallery mode. And let's see, Cynthia Williams asked the question, when is the applicant designation due? And it's really not due until much later. I think it's sometime even in August or September, but you want to go ahead and get the applicant designation form done, because you can't even open your grant until you have that completed. Thank you for that question, Cynthia. All right, any comments, questions?
Well, my question, I guess, is it open now?
It
The
is.
applicant designation? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. You can go in there and fill out that form now. But even when you get your form filled out, according to the listserv, the Perkins grant won't be open until the 15th of July. One of the service, or 15th of June. And one of the service center folks that are in here may have more updated information, but that's what the website's still saying.
Mark, I was going to add one thing, but Theodore beat me to it. Somebody in your district has to complete the SC 5003 before you can do the designation form for Perkins.
That's a great point. And in our district, that was always the superintendent, but if you're in a bigger district, it may be someone that is kind of pretty close in line with the superintendent. But that person, Tracy, would have access to all the grants and would be they would be signed off on who has what role on all the grants, is basically what that person in your district would do.
Hunt, could I didn't want to interrupt you when you were going through things, but could I make a comment about the program of study refresh activity last week? I got to sit in on that, and it was a 2-day process facilitated by a contractor, but I thought it was a very good exercise. They broke us out, by clusters and then by program of studies. And you kind of mentioned it, but I really give the CTE staff at TEA a lot of credit. They really listened, and to the folks that were working on those documents of what they're going to take to heart. And they were, they asked just a couple of things to let y'all know that's kind of floating out there is, do we really need to keep M cluster as a cluster anymore? Because so many of those courses kind of relate, like an example, the renewable energy course kind of relates under energy. So they're exploring that. They just were opinion shopping on that. And then they, from the listening sessions, they had gotten some feedback about there's some other AP courses that could be built into the sequences for the different programs of study. To bring in again some higher level content for students, and also maybe to attract some of those students that don't think CT is for them. So again, I thought it was 2 days very well worthwhile, and I don't know if anybody else participated, but that was my experience in the group I was with.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt, and that is great information, and I'm sure that was a great experience. And because I get to set up the Zoom, I get to give my 2 cents, I guess. And it really is just my 2 cents. There can be a lot of different opinions, but when they were doing the programs of study to begin with and the career clusters, they were talking about STEM, and STEM was kind of a lame career cluster to begin with. However, it tied in with the national career clusters that were set up nationally. And so that's why I thought it was a good idea to keep STEM. And plus, it keeps a tie with CTE to STEM. So my 2 cents is that we ought to keep STEM as a career cluster, and then we can have programs of study that fit underneath it maybe. And then the other thing is bringing in these academic courses and these AP courses that are not CTE, I think is a huge error, because a program of study is a coherent sequence of CTE courses that align with the kids. And so what you could do is you could take something like an AP course or a dual credit course, and you could put that as an associated course with the program of study. But in my opinion, the programs of study courses need to be CTE courses, because eventually what's going to happen is we're going to have these kids that are completers in a program of study and they've had one CTE course. And so my 2 cents, but that's just my,
yeah. And I'll capture all these comments here. I'm going to put them in a document to send. So I think that is really good input. And again, it's not to do it as a disadvantage of CTE courses, but I think I've seen a couple comments that make really good sense. So I'll be sure I capture all these along the way.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. And there are some great comments. Let's talk about it hurting AP, and they're Diana and Tracy. It's does anyone else have any comments? Because I've heard some debate on the other side, and even like Ms. Hunt said, it does tie some of those what is traditionally thought of as higher level content to the program study. Any other thoughts?
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
I know in spring when they do their 4-year plans, we recommend different maths or science that fit the cluster, but that hasn't, they're not falling under CTE. They stay in their core content area, but we do make recommendations on our pathway charts.
I think what you're saying is perfect. That's the perfect way to handle it. These are recommended core academic AP courses that we recommend for this program of study. But Grant, good job having your hand up there. Look at old Grant's. Great job.
Just wanted to throw a signal out there. So this question is for Kathy, I guess. Did they say anything if they brought up the AP notion about IB CTE courses? Have y'all heard of these?
No, sir.
They did. Yeah, they did talk about, I'm sorry to interrupt. They did talk a little bit about that also being kind of out there on the horizon and considering those, because it was both AP classes and IP classes. And again, like the lady said, to be recommended that they might be an option. But yeah, they did talk a little bit about the IB.
And the only reason I asked that and bring that up is because I've had our IB coordinator approach me a couple of times just with some interest in how that might potentially work. And I don't know too much about it. I don't know if anybody's got any experience there. I honestly don't know that we would explore that too heavy, because Mark, I tend to agree with you. But the reality is, like in our health science pathway, that we have students that are taking A&P and their high school credit in order to get their science credit and get up into that college track, so to speak. So we have students that are hitting those higher order thinking courses, if you will. So that's just my 2 cents as well.
If Melody Pro's on here, then they have a great IB program at Corpus Christi. So if you have questions about that, you might get with Melody, and they have it at the school where Farrah Fawcett graduated from, Grant. All right, very good.
So real quick, I agree, Mark, I agree with your earlier comment about it would change what a program of study is, right? Kids could end up taking way more non-CTE courses and completing a CTE sequence, which would be strange. But then there's the whole added piece of funding, right? Would they be funded like CTE courses? Probably not. And all of that. And so then it's a real mess on, where do you use your funds and all that kind of stuff. It could get really crazy.
For sure. Thank you, Peggy. I agree. Who else has a comment?
I put it in the chat, but I really would like to, whoever is on those work groups, I would really like to ask that we talk about more flexibility in the courses that are aligned to programs, because there's so much overlap between even specifically like engineering, robotics, and manufacturing. And right now we're super pigeonholed into things. And I need to build a program that meets my industry partners and students' needs. And right now I can't do that because it's entirely too specific. So I'd like to see them open those up a little more and give us more flexibility. Almost, and I hate to say this because it's been a thorn in my side, but almost like the endorsement rule, because we still have that, right? Where it's like from this cluster and this cluster and that cluster. And maybe we don't go that crazy, but right now it's just way too specific and narrow, in my opinion.
You were clarifying.
Fantastic point.
I see a clarifying question. Are you meaning like different courses might appear under different programs of study? Because
Right.
we did add that in. So
Yeah.
that did come up and several of us did that. That would be a good course to have, in a multiple programs of study. Like some of the one that came up, interestingly enough, was business English came up several times to improve their skills, but it was used as an example of that some of these classes are really good for multiple programs of study. So that did come up. So
I know in ours, in the listening tour, they talked about the principles courses, like opening up those first levels so that there was more option there to go across multiple programs. And I think that's really helpful, when you can have one principles course that feeds multiple programs. So when students change their mind, you haven't lost them completely, especially as our new goal is absolute completion. But in addition to just and I know the program of study refresh is more about the courses, but we've got to get some more flexibility in the certification alignments too.
Speaking as someone who was on the winter work group, I'm going to say that we tried to rewrite the project-based research to make it more general, the way a lot of us are using it. And when we went back last month to do the final check and, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, TEA kicked it back to us and said, no, this isn't good enough. We need it specific. We need it pigeonholed. And so they're having us they're bringing us back to Austin to completely rewrite what we had rewritten for that course.
That's too bad. And that's not the CTE folks either, is it, JJ?
No, it's the special programs folks out of TEA. When they took it to the board, they were saying that they wanted it more specific, and we were trying to explain to them how different districts use, and project-based research is a great example because so many of us use it for different things, and they would not let us be as generic as we were trying to be with it.
So much for stakeholder input on that one particular thing.
Yeah.
It's costing them too much. Go back to something Tracy said at the end, and I think Theodore on the side here has commented on it. We do need more flexibility, not only with courses, but with certifications. And they mentioned FAA Part 107, and I'll be honest, we have engineering. We don't have aviation. We don't have the other program that drone certification is in. I can't remember which one it is, but we do have engineering, and our kids actually build the drones and then learn to fly them and go through the FAA 107, which is tough, and get through it, get certified. But we don't have the ability to add a drone specific curriculum so that kids are going through only those classes. And so I would love to see looking at the alignment of certifications to programs of study.
Well, I think now is the time for input on that. David, you had your hand raised.
No, I was just making a comment. I'm good.
Well, that was, yeah, I agree with all that, but I think now is the best time to provide that input. You know, email those folks at TEA because they want the input. And when you have an opportunity to make comment on the SBOE website, you know, like JJ said, when they put out that information, what JJ's doing on the rewrite will have to go through the SBOE and it'll have to go out for public comment. Put your public comments in there, it matters. And so, what else fun do you guys have to discuss today?
Hey, Mark, NOCTI put out some new tests for CTE administrators. Is anybody taking that test? I'm just curious.
I haven't, but I was interested in it. So let me know how it goes.
No, I'm not going to take it till you do.
All right, we'll take it together, bro. They put out 3. I think there's a teacher. Is there a counselor one as well? And an administrator, or maybe it's work-based learning. Yeah, it's work-based learning.
Hey, I think we ought to let Mark take it first. Mark, you tell us how it is, and we know.
I will as soon as they come out with a book to open. Because if it's not open book, I'm not interested.
I figured you write down the answers, you can give them to me, man.
I write down some answers.
Screenshot.
Correctness may be the issue.
I'm pretty sure if anybody asks a counselor right now to take a test, they're going to tell you exactly where to put that test.
Well, the good news is chaplains are on the way because counselors can now be replaced with chaplains.
Yes, even better.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to see if I can share an office with them. That may help me. Mark, did you mention earlier, sorry, I spaced out. Did you mention the SBOE looking at the 2 version of ways to implement the OSHA TEKS?
Right. One of them is a standalone course, and one of them is to put those TEKS in the all of the principals courses. So I think they're taking public comment on that right now, and I should have put the link to the public comment in the CTAT chat, but I can send out that link. Did you have something different, or were you saying that because you know something different than that, Tracy?
No. I didn't hear if you had mentioned it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I have the link. Did somebody just drop it? Because I have the link. I can add it in the chat.
Fantastic, if you don't mind doing that.
And I will say that they had both of the winter work groups dig into that pretty heavy. And we kind of lambasted them with it, the original, because the original that they proposed to us was basically the outline for OSHA 30 spread out over an entire year for OSHA 10 certification. And we told them, if you just need bobbleheads to agree with you so that we can offer the cert in our principals or intro classes, we'll do that. I pretty well guarantee it, no one's going to do that because the certifications are not tied to a course, they're tied to a program of study.
Thank you. And Tracy just posted the public comment link for the SBOE. So any comments that you have, like JJ just made there, if you have a thought on it one way or another, the only good thing I can think of that'll be coming from this is that it may have a chance to bring the OSHA certification back. I think it was a pretty decent certification.
But at OSHA 10, please.
I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it does. Any other good questions or comments, or any questions about conference?
Can I make a shameless plug for a session?
Please.
If anybody is running a CTE center or is planning one, our team is in the middle of that work now, and we would absolutely 100% love to pick everybody's brains about all kinds of things, how you handle scheduling, what programs you put in it, who you worked with to build the thing, like all the things related to CTE Center. So it's Tuesday afternoon. I think it's at 3:45 p.m. I put a post in the CTAT Connect about it, but please, please, please join us if you're running a CTE Center or you're planning one, because all our brains together, I think I know is way better than mine on its own. So.
Yeah, Tracy, they had a schedule for 3:45 in the Wedgwood room. So,
Last thing, thank you, Mark, for that. The last thing I'll say is
Yeah.
I added a link on the CTAT Connect post. I started a spreadsheet, it's just blank right now. So even if you can't be there, but you want to share information, you can drop it into that spreadsheet.
thank you, Ms. Hendricks. Anybody else?
Hey, Mark, I got a couple of last minute ad teachers and struggling to find them a hotel room. I had called last week. Are there any suggestions? I understand we might not open up another block at the Anatoly. So are there any suggestions of other closer hotel rooms for those of us who aren't native Dallas?
Robin may answer this better because we talked about this yesterday. And Robin, aren't we going to send out a list of hotels that are right on that in line with the Anatole? I don't think there's any rooms at the Anatole to have blocked anymore.
That's true. The Anatole is full. They are not letting us increase our block. We've increased it 2 or 3 times already. So there's I'm going to post in the chat a link to the webpage that lists the conference headquarters. We've posted a link for nearby hotels. And then Leslie has negotiated a room block with the DoubleTree by Hilton. So the link is also on that page.
And Larkin, that's a nice hotel. I think it's within walking distance if you wanted to do that.
Just a heads up, my DoubleTree link is not working. I don't know if anybody else has seen that, but it says some sort of, it might be on the Hilton, not on you guys' side.
I'll check on it.
I have actually stayed at that DoubleTree before, and it is a nice place, and the rodeo goat's really close.
You don't have to tell everything, Rick. Now, it's a part of the problem is, Larkin, once that area by the Anatole, you're probably all right. But when you start getting out on the fringes, well, that's probably, the FFA convention's that same work in Dallas. So that same week, so all your La Quintas and Comfort Inns and mid-level places are probably going to have big booked with ag kids.
If we're talking about rooms for the conference, because I had to step away for delivery, but I posted in the CTAT chat that I had to book 2 different rooms at the Anatole so that I could have, so one night I'm going to be in one room, and then for 2 nights I'll be in one room, and then I have to switch to another for the 3rd night. So they were filling up. You may find you're having to do that, but
A lot of times, Bonnie, they can work that out too once you get there.
hopefully, but oh well, do what you got to do.
Well, at least you'll get to go to a clean room.
You hope, true, it better be clean when you get there.
Ish. Any other comments, questions? I should know this, but Robin, the ICV reception is on Tuesday night this year, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And do we
You will not believe what we have in store for you. You got to see it. Bring your camera.
Can we tell or surprise?
Well, what do you think we should tell them?
Where it is?
Oh, it'll be at the Anatole. It'll be in the so where you go to register, for conference is a foyer right outside of the exhibit hall and the general session ballroom. And that's where the reception will be.
Called the Trinity Pre-Function
Mhm.
on your map. If you're playing bingo.
I think we're gonna put a light up strip on the floor so everyone can find their way back to the elevators.
What an idea.
Hey, Mark, I have a legislative question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm learning things all the time and I've never seen this before, so I don't know what it means. House Bill 9, the one that, if I'm summarizing really shortly, basically requires us to give teachers supplemental pay if they work more than 30 minutes outside of their contract. It says postponed on its status and it has a specific date in June. Do we know what that means?
I would have to be looking at that legislative watch, but if you go to the stages and then, of course, did it get a hearing and did the Senate ever hear it? I don't remember. I don't think that ever got through, to be honest. I know it didn't.
Okay.
Are you on the legislative watch?
On the Legiscan?
On the Legiscan, and what stage does it say it's in right there on those tabs at the top?
On the summary, it's on the history, it says postponed 6/10/23.
Robin, do
I
you
think
have
that, yes, that means it flatlined.
Okay. Oh, thank goodness. I mean, I love to pay teachers, but oh my gosh, I was worried.
Well,
What
but
bill
you're
was
right
that?
to ask though, Tracy, you're right to ask because, a lot of times the lawmakers will tack on components of legislation to bills that are still moving through the process. And so, so I think we can check on that.
And I'm looking at it right now, and if it comes in here, you said it was House Bill 9, Tracy?
Senate Bill 9?
Senate Bill 9?
Yes, sir.
That would, yeah, it was voted on. It failed to get voted on by the House.
Okay.
And I'm going to, let me show you what I'm looking at right here real quick. So when I pull up this bill, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
You see where it goes through the stages?
Oh, yeah, I like that
Yeah,
view.
right. And so it never got voted on. It got out of committee.
Mm-hmm.
I would think though that would have some legal issues because legally teachers are considered management.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
what is it? Either exempt. I just learned all this.
Right. and so I'm afraid that would have some bad. I mean, you could even teach, because right now teachers can't unionize in Texas and they can't strike, and so a bill like that said you had to pay them basically like an hourly employee could really be confusing out there. And yes, the ROTC bill, I don't think ever it didn't make it through the process either.
I was really hoping that Senate Bill 1087 would make it through though.
Well, 1087 got a hearing, and Marty and them were texting that night. What was that, Robin? A Sunday night, right at the very end, and said if there'd been another hour left in the legislative session, they would have got 1087 through. And so it just narrowly missed it. So we may have a really good shot at that next time. And every bill, we'll have this in the legislative update too, but the legislative task force that worked with us at the beginning of the spring semester, every item that the legislative task force came up with, of course, representing you guys and with your input on the roundtables, every idea was made into a bill and got presented at some time. And of course, not all of them got hearings. And once House Bill 100 came out, it was like an alligator. It just ate up all the time possible. not only for us, but also for the legislators too. You know, it become all consuming. And then when it got vouchers tied to it, then it became a battle royal.
I assume that we're coming back to a special session for vouchers. Am I correct on that?
Well, we haven't heard that yet, Rick. They did a special session for property taxes. And then, Robin, do you have any new news on vouchers?
No, we haven't heard that school finance is going to be a priority for another session. If we do, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and of course, I learned a ton this spring, but Marty and MJ just camp out in the halls down there. So whenever something's coming, they're usually on top of it. So we ought to get a day or two notice that it's coming. And I mean, we're watching. I mean, that's all you can do is just watch it. But there's been I haven't even heard a hint of that. Property taxes is the only thing I've heard that they've taken on a special session. The teach for the new middle school course, Mitchell, they are on the SBOE website. If you want to see the new teach, you can go to the State Board of Education website. And Mitchell, if you'll send me an email, I'll send you what those teachs are. They're very similar to the career investigations, and it added some 4-year planning in there as a mandate. Kind of the big difference.
Just real quick, following up on his question, have the PEMS numbers been released yet for those courses?
No, sir, not as far as I'm aware. They do not have service ID numbers for them.
Okay.
But let me tell you, Zach, service ID numbers for these courses, it's not like a high school credit course to where that service ID number is going to trigger a program of study code or it's going to trigger funding. So, you know, just keep your old one in there till you get a new one. And then it's just switch. It's not going to have any impact on anything mission critical. And Ms. Schaefer, we heard 2 is what we heard as far as the number of service ID numbers. But of course, we won't know that until it comes out. And even if you continue to use the same service ID number, again, there's no funding tied to it, no credit tied to it. So those are good questions. Ms. Reeves put in the chat about House Bill 1 to maximum compressed tax rate of the school district, and HB 33 reducing school district maintenance and operation through some ad valorem taxes, through some surplus revenue. Thank you for putting that in there. And Robin, was there a trigger that increased the basic allotment a little bit anyway, like inflation? Seemed like I heard that once, but I haven't heard it again, or I lost in my brain.
Yeah, the adjustment for inflation was in one of the school finance bills that ultimately did not pass. So I don't know that they were successful in getting that into another bill, because the state appropriations would have to have a trigger in a bill to do that. But let me ask that.
Thanks. And again, none of the increases, I think $50 was the increase in House Bill 100. None of the increases to the basic allotment were significant, I would say. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Hendricks, what'd you get for your birthday? What in the world is that?
That's the Astros mascot, Orbit bobblehead.
Oh
I
my
know you can't
gosh.
see behind me, but I have a collection going.
Well, I don't know if you're paying attention to my mighty Texas Rangers, but
No.
they're leading the Astros by 2.5 games right now.
Yeah, well, we've got the Angels starting today, so we'll see what kind of birthday gift I really get.
Well, if the Rangers are still in first place come conference, I'm gonna buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's right, Bonnie. I agree with you 100%. True Astros fan all the way.
Wait, I can signal y'all. That's how you say hello in Houston Astros.
Everybody's just bitter because we got caught. They were all doing it anyway.
Oh, that's probably true. Probably true. But
Absolutely.
we're going to use that as an excuse anyway, aren't we, Ted?
Of course, Tracy, now they have you recorded saying that.
There you go, Grant. Good Rangers people. You know, you don't have to wonder about, are the Rangers going to let you down in September, because you know it's going to happen. So you don't have to sit there and worry about it all the time.
I'm just saying, if the Rangers make it to the series, I'll be a Rangers fan. I'm all about Texas. So
this is a little bit off topic, but if any of you watch the hockey, the Stars hockey, that is really entertaining television in the playoffs. And those guys, you talk about effort. It is 100%, 100% of the time in those hockey matches. And that Vegas group was good. So good job, Stars. All right. Well, I don't want to take up your time. I know you got things to do here in June. And so let's do a last call for a question. All right. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys. And again, thank you all for being a part of these Thursday roundtables. I learn something every time we get on here, and it's just incredible. And it's heartwarming to see how you guys learn from each other and how meaningful these are. And they never seem to slow down. The need for them and the importance, I think, is critical. So thank you guys for participating, because just like the conferences, the quality of the conference is all based on the quality of the presentations, and your participation in activities of this just really improves the, not only CTAT, but improves CTE programs across the state. So thank you so much. All right.